This is the big dance. It's great to be here.
The music, the magic, the madness. Championship night. There's nothing like it. Final seconds for the championship.
Well, it's already that time of the year again, folks. That's right. I'm talking about March Maxi Madness. Maxi Madness is bigger than ever this year. The Bugle is happy to announce the Maxi Madness Tournament Bracket Pick'em Challenge. Fill out the bracket, making your predictions for the outcome of Maxi Madness for your chance to win a BitX from Crypto Cloaks. The winner will also receive a PodConf t-shirt, an Evie and Park Seriously Snarky candle, Otis Bitmeyer coffee beans, and 2 Cypherpunk sticker packs from the Ungovernable Misfits. Visit bugle.news/Maxi-Madness to fill out your bracket before Thursday, March 20th at 8 a.m. Eastern Time to be eligible. Also, don't forget to vote in the Maxi Madness tournament on the Bugle's Twitter timeline beginning March 20th. Good luck to everyone, especially the Maxis. Let's go dancing.
Nobody in America sells higher quality paper to cypherpunks for their paper wallets than Office Depot.
I use Office Depot paper for my wallets because I don't trust the Jews didn't infiltrate the hardware wallet supply chains. You can't go wrong with their highest quality paper.
Even Hezbollah uses our paper to secure their private keys. Stop by Office Depot today to take your Bitcoin security stack to the next level. Our paper is fully open source, sourced directly from Mother Nature, unlike NVK's cold card.
Welcome to this edition of the Bugle Weekly. This is a big one. It's a big week, one of the biggest weeks ever. It's a very big week. We got some big things coming, some big announcements to be announced, biggest announcements to be announced, earth-shattering announcements, but I'm excited for this week. I'm excited to be podcasting today. Us podcasters, we're the tip of the spear. We're the front line of the Orange Revolution. We are battling bad UX. Last week, we had some issues with bad UX. I think we conquered those. This episode should be a little bit smoother. Big thanks to Timmy Tether for coming in and saving the show last week. That was huge.
Thank you, Timmy.
How you doing today, Rod? What do you got going on?
Oh, yeah, no, we definitely want to apologize for the poor user experience on your behalf for last week's episode. But we've been working really hard, and we've been working so hard on Maxi Madness and this partnership and this promotion that we haven't had time to interview. And also, right now, it was a tense time. There's a lot of people, and we're going to get into Maxi Madness, but there's a lot of people who feel slighted. They feel like they deserved to be in Maxi Madness. They deserve to make the tournament this year, and they were left out. So it's been a tense time. We've been managing the Bitcoin podcast community and the influencers. We've been managing their inputs and their outrage. But we've been putting together a great tournament for you, and it's 64 Bitcoin Maxi influencers. We did this last year. People loved it. The winner was Yellow. 64 influencers. And you vote. It's up to you. You decide which Maxi moves on to the next round. And it's just like March Madness college basketball. You go to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final 4, and then the champion. And the winner this year is going to not just have the prestige of Maxi Madness, champion, which, like I said, Yellow he's been spending the whole year as the defending champion. He's excited to go number 1 seed this year. But there's going to be prizes. Do you want to talk about these prizes and like some of the ways that people are going to be able to participate this year? That's going to be a little bit more, interactive than last time.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot more interactive than last time. I just, before I go into the prizes, I want to address, for the individuals that are upset that they weren't included in the March Maxi Madness, the committee did a lot of work on this. There was a lot that went into it, and if you weren't included, I don't think it's fair to be upset with the committee. I think you need to do some self-reflection, some soul-searching. You have to ask yourself, why didn't the committee consider you worthy of being in the tournament, and just try to double down over the next year, really increase your performance, increase your podcast appearances, work on your podcast, make it better, and use it as motivation to be a better maxi instead of getting upset at others. It's
and right now it's been a few years. It's been, I mean, well, maybe not a few years. The last real good Bitcoin book that somebody published was the Bitcoin Dollar by Mark Goodwin. And it's been a while since we had one. And I think that if you want to make it into Maxi Madness next year, start working on writing your Bitcoin book. Vlad Kostia loves Bitcoin books. He really wants to read more. He thinks of these Bitcoin books like, when you think of Bitcoin podcasts, 40 hours per week, write your own book. And if you're good enough to be on Sly Goomba's Bitcoin Brilliance podcast that he just started, that covers magnum opuses such as the Bushido of Bitcoin. Yeah, that you can get on Sly Goomba. That'll get you into PodComp or Maxi Madness next year.
Yeah. As far as the prizes, so one of the things that we really wanted to incentivize this year was for individuals to fill out their brackets and to engage in the prediction process. I think it just adds a lot of value to the competition in general.
It adds game theory. Adds
a lot of game theory. So we're going to be partnering with Crypto Cloaks and Ungovernable Misfits. We're going to be giving the winner, whoever has the closest bracket to 100% correct, going to be giving them a bid axe from Crypto Cloaks and a package of goodies from Ungovernable Misfits, peer-to-peer mesh citadel economy. So there's a few vendors that are going to be included. There's going to be a orange pill candle, as well as a bag or two of Otis Bitmeyer coffee and an Ungovernable Misfits sticker pack. And if you have not seen the Ungovernable Misfits sticker pack, it is really cool. And I've yet to experience Otis Bitmeyer coffee, but I've heard it's pretty next level, some pretty good stuff. And we're supporting the decentralization of mining by promoting the bid axe with Crypto Cloaks. So this is something that PodConf really cares about. PodConf really cares about the bid axe a lot. And PodConf is sponsoring with us on this. And, Crypto Cloaks is an interesting vendor, right? He's kind of non-compliant in some ways, but in other ways, he's also compliant. So he's kind of like borderline PodConf, I would say. More on the non-PodConf approved side of things. So that's I feel a little bit better about supporting him, more so than some of the other vendors of the bid axe. But yeah, I'm excited about what the mesh citadel is doing, and I want people to see it. I want people to see that you can engage in this peer-to-peer economy. We talk about it on the show all the time. The way you should be buying cigarettes is peer-to-peer. You should be using Bitcoin. You should be using non-custodial Lightning. You should be using even potentially shitcoins like Monero to purchase your cigarettes non-compliantly and privately, because there's no reason the government should have any information on your cigarette purchases. Like, this is the path of being self-sovereign. It's the path of, being a good podcast listener. It's smoking. Like, I really do think the route that you go about buying your cigarettes really influences your cigarette smoking experience. It influences your self-worth. It influences the amount of information you can really absorb through podcasting in general. Because, like, if you're sitting there smoking a compliant cigarette, I think it's just going to lead you to compliant podcasts. And I care about non-compliant podcasts. I care about non-PodConf approved content creators in general.
I have a question. Is this Bitcoin candle made with tallow, beef tallow?
I don't think so.
Interesting. I was just hoping. That's the big thing right now. I mean, if you are already smoking cigarettes, if you're already listening to 40 hours per week, and you're already eating, an all-meat diet, you need to add beef tallow candles and beef tallow products, beef tallow skincare to your routine. This is going to raise your testosterone. It is going to make you more thermodynamically sound. So, I hope this candle, if it's not tallow, maybe we should get a tallow product thrown in. But, yeah, we're going to have the brackets this year, and the brackets, you're going to be able to go in there. You just put in, an email address, an anonymous one from Proton, and, you can get access to the bracket. You fill it out. It'll be scored. It'll be transparent. It will be open to the public, the scoring, and the winner will all be there, transparent for you to see. The winner gets the prize. And, yeah, you can always do some peer-to-peer lighting sets, with some wagers between fellow plebs in the group chat too, if you want. But maybe next year we'll be able to build the gambling right into it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we can really build this and iterate on it over time and turn it into something really cool. But I want to
talk about why people should vote in Maxi Madness. Like, what is this? We just elected the president, Donald Trump, to get the strategic Bitcoin reserve. But so we know that was why we voted. Why should people vote in Maxi Madness? What is this tournament? What is it for? What does it represent?
Well, I would consider it one of the most important events happening in Bitcoin, personally. I think it's really important to know who the general podcast listener ecosystem thinks is the best Maxi.
Right, because PodConf isn't democratic. PodConf doesn't have elections. PodConf doesn't, people say, who elected this person to be the spokesman of Bitcoin? Who elected this person to be the CEO of Bitcoin? Michael Saylor or, whoever. Josh Mandel. But the Maxi Madness tournament gives you, it's an election. It is bringing democracy to the influencer community. And it's your chance to, you decide who's the spokesman for Bitcoin on podcasts, in the media, in the government. Do we want David Bailey being our spokesperson in the White House? No, but we didn't get to vote on that. But the Maxi Madness tournament gives us the right to vote for that, to find out who's the voice of democracy in this community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, PodConf, they're pseudo spoofing us. They're trying to control the narrative behind the scenes. They're very shifty in the way they do it. Like when you go on YouTube and you look at thumbnails from all these different PodConf approved YouTube channels, they all have Michael Saylor on it. And so if you're an average individual, you think that Michael Saylor's the end all be all. They don't promote memers. Like last year, we saw, I think this is earth shattering. It's in many ways, it's a way to actually determine what public perception of influencers is. And we saw Yellow defeat Michael Saylor, which is huge. But you don't, on the PodConf, on Simply Bitcoin, on all these YouTube channels that are PodConf approved, you don't see yellow thumbnails ever. You don't see any representation of memers or very, very little. I guess simply kind of.
They don't talk to Yellow on CNBC. They talk to Anthony Pompliano and Mark Yusko and Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. They talk to shitcoiners, basically. People who they use Bitcoin to get a platform and they become influencers. But they don't really care about Bitcoin. As soon as they don't have to use the Bitcoin community anymore, they move on. Like Michael Saylor, right? He talks about digital assets now, and he won't say that there is no second best. Michael Saylor has not said there is no second best since Donald Trump won the election. And that's not a coincidence. When people ask, they say, why? What about President Bukele from El Salvador? What about Senator Lunes? Definitely hot enough to be in the tournament. Why isn't she in there? Why isn't Donald Trump himself, the president of the United States, in there? Because they've already been democratically elected. They have been chosen by Bitcoin to lead them in the public sphere, and we're focusing on the people who need that, who can take that torch.
And not only that, they weren't elected entirely by Bitcoiners. You know what I mean? They were elected by shitcoiners. They were elected by no coiners. It's completely different. And,
by foreign meme coiners. No.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, APAC was a big part of them getting into the
The
office.
CIA, yeah, USAID.
Swan Bitcoin and Corey Clipston, David Bailey, Bitcoin Magazine. Yeah, I mean, this is, PodConf has backed those people, and we do have a lot of PodConf approved influencers on there, but it's a little bit different. But yeah, I think the ecosystem needs to see Joe Nakamoto lose first round and just get completely destroyed by Walker. I think these are the types of things that people need to see. Like, there's a lot of plebs out there, they look at Joe Nakamoto tweets and they like it and they think, oh, he must be a good guy because like he's got Nakamoto in his name and he likes Bitcoin. But they need to understand nobody likes Joe Nakamoto at the end of the day.
Right.
Like there's a lot of casuals. There's a lot of casuals. There's a lot of people that just kind of pass by and they don't understand the intricacies of the influencer ecosystem. And this is a way to present to the casuals all these cultural nuances that really matter.
Right. And when you get to like the first round in the influencer bracket, you get to a matchup right away between, there's two matchups that I think of in this one. There's Aubrey Strobel versus Predator. And then there's Nadex versus Michelle Weekly. And you have to decide, is Aubrey Strobel so hot that we would rather have her on the news than would you rather have Predator? I mean, if it comes down to who understands the protocol better, who I want to transact in the trenches with, if we're trying to, donate to truckers in Canada and evade the FBI, I'm going with Predator. I'm running nuts with Predator. But if I'm trying to orange pill people, I'm going with Aubrey Strobel. And you have to think of it like that. And you have to look at who's going to orange pill my friends, my community. Nadex is this naked autistic, guy screaming about 3D printed guns. Is my family and friends, my community, my church, are they going to be like, I think this person is right about economics and money? Or are you going to talk to Michelle Weekly, who has multiple times done business at the same table with the Communist Party of China? She knows how to not only orange pill your uncle, but how to help Jason P. Lowry in the soft war against our enemies like China, Russia, and all these other bad actors. This is what's at stake here.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about some of my predictions. I know you haven't published yours yet, but I'd be curious some of your thoughts. But I submitted my bracket last week. I thought, one of the individuals I think is going to perform really well, but this individual is going to have a breakout year. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people, is Fred Krueger. I know Fred Krueger's been at the crux of a lot of controversy, but I think he's going to.
This is where I 100% agree with you. This is where it gets down to, in a true democratic private ballot circumstance, who do you want to help you orange pill the world? A mathematician who was friends with Giovanni, who invented the power law, which is, until the past few days, was the biggest, most important, chart we had in Bitcoin. Or who's Fred going up against in the first round? Is that Preston Pish?
Here, let me pull up my bracket.
Yeah, I mean, do you want that true mathematics genius? Or do you kind of want the macro guy in khakis who is really excited about stable coins, helping to make the dollar stronger? The guy who maybe meme coins a little bit as a joke versus the guy who's trying to make the dollar stronger. I know I think people are going to make decisions on that one.
Yeah. Well, Fred's like great asset to the community as far as orange pilling the NPC Wall Street type folks. You know what I mean? Preston's also a great asset to the Bitcoin ecosystem, or also potentially the intelligence ecosystem as well. But yeah, I think there's some. So let me just go through my thread real quick. So first part, I think Fred Krueger is going to have a good performance. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's going to have a good performance. I think Joe Nakamoto is going to get absolutely destroyed by Walker. I mean, that's like, might as well just have given Walker a bye, in my opinion, because nobody likes Joe. I think David Bailey is going to have a pretty good performance as well. He's going to get, let's see, I had him going to the Sweet 16 and losing to Dennis Porter. And the reason why I think Dennis is going to beat David is because Dennis cures erectile dysfunction and David doesn't. I have yet to hear of any documented cases of David curing ED. And
yeah, and somebody wrote out, and they were upset with us. And I won't name names because it was a very personal request. They really are into pregnant moms, and they think pregnant moms are hot. And they really want us to put some pregnant moms in the Maxi Madness, but we elected not to do that because it was an unfair advantage. I think if pregnant mom would have won.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's part of the reason why. Yeah,
it's just surprising how many people were. It was like, if we left Lynn Alden out, it would have been the same type of response. Like, how can you do that?
Yeah. Now, I'm curious. So, I think Shinobi is going to put up a good fight against Dennis Porter in round 1. I do think Dennis Porter is going to win. You got any thoughts on that matchup? Is Shinobi a dark horse? Is he a bracket breaker for me here?
Well, that's a good question. So, I think that sometimes you get a matchup in politics or in an election or in a selection where people try to make it seem like there is some competition, but it's really not there. I feel like that's Dennis Porter versus Shinobi. I think a lot of people really want Dennis Porter on the front lines, orange pilling, over Shinobi. And I think that's an easy one for Dennis Porter.
I think so too. I mean, like, why would people that are being called retarded by Shinobi vote for him? You know what I mean? It's
right, exactly.
I think that was it was a major tactical mistake by Shinobi over the last couple of years to call everybody in Bitcoin retarded. It just does not serve him well for his performance in Maxi Madness at all.
No, thank you. That is a very good thing, because when it comes to deciding which influencer to listen to know if you should do a soft fork, or if you should support Covenants, or if you should support, Arc Lightning Layer 2, you're not going to listen to the people who told you were retarded every time you tried to voice your opinion the past 4 years. And Shinobi's done that. And I think that we have to ourselves be careful about all the people we call retarded now, because everybody's calling each other retarded these days. And you're going to have to convince them to support Covenants or to support your soft fork. And if you call too many people retarded, they're never going to come to consensus with you.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of people, when they get called retarded by Shinobi, they're not gonna soul search. They're not gonna question why they're retarded. They're just gonna say, "Oh, Shinobi's an asshole. I'm not voting for him in Maxi Madness." Like, that's just the conclusion people are gonna come to. Like, if you wanted a surefire,
it's like Kwanzaa. It's low signal. He's tweeted 25,000 times. And when Alden simply said, if you've tweeted 25,000 times about what you believe to be a very important subject, and you only have 4,000 followers, that is incredibly low signal. If you are calling 25,000 plebs retarded on Spaces every year, it's just, at this point, you'll call You would call Jimmy Song retarded. He's one of the most important core devs we've ever had. If you're calling Jimmy Song retarded, your retardeds just don't mean anything.
Yeah. Well, I think Shinobi could be used pretty effectively. So, like, say there was like a fork that you didn't support, right? You wanted more than anything for it to not pass. All you need to do is you need to get Shinobi to be an advocate for it, and it'll call everybody that doesn't support it retarded, then they'll just make them want to support it less. And that's a surefire way. So maybe we could look at convincing Shinobi to support BIP 300 and BIP 301.
That's why when Dieter Bob says that Shinobi's compromised, that's what he means. He thinks that anytime people want to build more private, good solutions, that they send him in to advocate for it and get it shut down.
Well, there's a few people I want to highlight real quick. So I think Optimus Fields will beat Michael Saylor first round. I think a 16 seed will upset a 1 seed.
Oh, yeah. Michael Saylor's time is, he's past his prime. It is time for like Simply Bitcoin. It is time for Opti. Like, it is time for that young, non-compliant, like, will post an offensive meme sometimes. You need people like that. Sailor's on the way out.
If this happens, what I could foresee happening is that Simply Bitcoin starts using Optimus thumbnails instead of Sailor thumbnails every week.
Opti has a face for YouTube thumbnails, for sure.
Totally. I think Isabella is going to have a really good performance. I have her going to the Final Four. I think Aubrey Strobel is going to have a good performance. So one of the matchups that I have in the second round is Aubrey against Kaiser. And I think the community is going to determine that Aubrey has nicer legs than Max Kaiser.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so excited for Aubrey and for Isabella this year is because the plebs who've been stacking since 2020, the plebs who've been stacking since 2017, they've been stacking this time thinking that after a couple of cycles, they're going to have a girlfriend like Aubrey Strobel and Isabella. But that's what they've been working towards. And they're just so fun and so upbeat. And it's just, I think they're hot, the hotness factor is there.
I think, yeah, the orange shells are going to vote for them, no doubt. I think the thing that would really, really mess up my bracket predictions, which I'm not expecting them to do, but if either Isabella or Aubrey post feet picks, I think that might take them to the championship. I don't think Dennis Porter can compete with Isabella feet picks. You know what I mean?
I think right now we need to, I don't know how to enforce it, but we need to call for a moratorium on feet picks from, this point into the tournament. Otherwise we can't. The poly market's going to be skewed.
Mm-hmm. So in the Final Four, I have Yellow against Lynn Alden and Isabella against Dennis Porter. I think Dennis is going to beat Isabella, and I think this year Lynn Alden has had a hell of a year. I think she's going to beat Yellow in the Final Four. I think Yellow is going to have a really good performance, but I think that Lynn Alden, the voters, they're going to determine that Lynn Alden is hot. Like, that's what this Maxi Madness is a referendum on, is the reality that Lynn Alden is hot. Now, Lynn was responding to my prediction. She said she thought that something was going to stop this train, and I think she's just trying.
She's so humble. She's so humble.
Yeah,
so humble. That's part of why she's hot.
It is. It really is part of the reason why she's hot. But in my credentialed opinion on the subject is nothing stops this train. She's going.
I'd say, yeah, I think she's more humble than Matt Odell. That's my controversial opinion there. But my prediction, my upset alert is, I think David Bailey is going to emerge from the PodComp division in a stunning upset over Dennis Porter. And here's why. Simply, it's simple as this. David Bailey got Ross free, and he got the strategic Bitcoin only reserve. The strategic Bitcoin only reserve. Dennis Porter has gotten 0 states bills passed, and the ones that he's, actually moving through these state legislatures are digital assets, strategic reserves. And listen, I think people a few months ago were thinking Dennis Porter was going to run away with this. But right now, David Bailey, I would say, is over him.
Well, talk about noise. Cynthia Lummis just weeks ago was saying that the states were going to lead, and she was completely wrong. Just complete noise. But I do want to clarify. So Dennis has passed legislation. He has passed multiple bills, the right to do what you already have the right to do bills, which were huge, in my opinion. Protecting our rights to do things we already have the rights to do, which is very, very...
Right. No, that's what pisses me off. That's what pisses me off. Dennis Porter has been going out there saying that he has to get the right to self-custody, the right to mining, the right to this. And we come to find out we never needed that. Now that Donald Trump has won, we never needed all of these. We've donated all this money to get the government to give us permission, and we didn't even need it. It's snake oil.
I don't know. I think it is important, and the reason why it's important is because we don't know who's going to win the next election. You know what I mean? It might not be a Bitcoin pleb in the White House. It might be a shitcoiner. It might be a no-coiner. Historically, throughout the entire history of the United States, every president up until Donald Trump, this time around after David Bailey orange-pilled him, was a no-coiner. And so there's a very serious precedence of no-coiners running the country.
But even worse, the next one could be a Democrat. And that's where I have to give Dennis credit. Dennis loves to rub shoulders with Democrats. He likes Anthony Scaramucci. He likes Senator Ron Wyden. He likes Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who was, she was in group chats with Sam Bankman-Fried. Okay, so at least Dennis is willing to go to that other side and do business and to orange bill Democrats. So don't count that out. But I still think David Bailey's got it.
Yeah, I mean, we need people on both sides advocating for us. So you've got Dennis on the left, you've got David and Bitcoin Magazine on the right. We're hitting it from both angles. We've got a handful of people kind of catering to the Libertarian Party, but they don't really matter. It's kind of like a social club. I think the Libertarian Party, you want to orange pill them because you want to orange pill everybody, but they're too busy podcasting about all these other topics that don't include Bitcoin. They're busy, detracting from Bitcoin meetups, from, throwing.
Yeah, it's like, listen, right now we're trying to separate money from state. We can worry about age of consent laws in the citadels, in our own citadels. This is but we got to separate money from state first. But libertarians, they get sidetracked on things like, can I smoke weed? Do I have to smoke Delta 8? Can my girlfriend still be in high school? You just worry about the money. Fix the money, fix the world.
Yeah, I mean, why would you want to listen to a podcast that's sponsored by a company selling Kratom? We need to hear about which Bitcoin KYC exchange is the best. We need to hear about which hardware wallet is the best. These are the types of sponsors and topics that we want to be focused on. And Kratom just takes away, if you take Kratom, it's going to make
you can't listen to Bitcoin podcasts at full speed when you're taking Kratom. Mm-hmm. Kratom is detracting from 40 hours per week. That you don't do that. That's what libertarians are giving you. They're giving you Kratom.
Exactly.
It feels good, but it's not helping you. It's not getting you to the point where Bitcoin has already won for your life.
Yep. Angela McArdle had this retarded tweet this week. So she was asking, how do you deal with neighbors that play their music really loud, without having to call the cops on them? And the answer is simple. 1, real estate's a shitcoin. 2, if you have your Bitcoin, you can move all your wealth with you on a dime, and it's not that big of a deal to move. You don't have chairs. You don't have very much stuff. You have your nice headphones to listen to Bitcoin podcasts and maybe a bed. You just move, and you vote with your feet. You say, if you're going to be a discourteous neighbor, then you're gonna move somewhere like where there's a good meetup scene, or you're gonna move to Bitcoin Beach, or you're gonna move to Bitcoin Jungle, or many of these different.
And the other thing is, Bitcoiners or libertarians, they get so obsessed, and they don't like the strategic Bitcoin reserve, and they don't like Donald Trump because he is doing deportations and closing the border. And they don't believe, they think that there should be open borders. But, there's a reason why node runners use Bitcoin knots, because boundaries matter. Spam, you've got to keep out the spam. You got to keep it out. And if you don't, that's why you got to focus on decentralization.
100%. We're built differently. This is like why listening to Bitcoin podcasts is so important, is because you don't Angela McArdle's in the weeds. The libertarians are in the weeds. They're way too focused, pontificating about all of these, silly social issues that don't matter. The age of consent laws are like, why would that be a primary focus for you to care about? It's
hypocrites. They're hypocrites. They love regulatory clarity about gender, but they hate regulatory clarity about borders and about, other things in Israel, things like that. It's like, stop being a Puritan.
Well, I mean, so the libertarians are kind of stuck in this issue of like, they're kind of like emos. You know what I mean? They're like the political emos. Like, the emos thrive off the world being clown world and being stupid. They don't want the world to get better, because if the world gets better, then they have to stop dyeing their hair black and painting their nails and doing stuff like that. So like the libertarians, like they want a podcast about why you should end the Fed. That's what they want to focus on. But the second that you actually have a viable way to end the Fed, it's a threat to their ability, to their podcasting platform, to their way to monetize their audience via Kratom sponsorships. It's just the libertarians are rather a silly bunch, in my opinion.
Yeah, listen, if you need, I don't ever want to take, it's between somebody and, their God, if they use Monero. I'm not going to take, that's an individual right. It's like, the right to get an abortion. Like, I'm not making that choice for an individual. But if you wouldn't need Monero if you were buying Kratom with Monero on all the libertarian podcasts. Then, if you were buying hardware wallets and you were taking control of your keys and your future, you would have, and we're trying to get your Lightning node to work so you could actually have the privacy you LARP about thinking you want. And you just had to manage your UTXOs. You wouldn't have time. You wouldn't have the need for Monero just so you could buy Kratom that you heard on a libertarian. It's just, but I'm not your parent.
Yeah. The libertarians, I've been enjoying ignoring them, but every once in a while they'll pop up at my feed, and they're like the emos. But before we get into the Fountain Boost, there was a big news story this week that I think would be good for you to recap, because I haven't been paying attention as much. So it seems like Power Law officially died this week, and we have a new prediction superhero on the scene.
Yeah, but if you're not familiar by now, you can look it up. Josh Mandel 6 on Twitter. He is a legendary options derivatives trader from the 1990s, the Solomon Brothers. So if you know anything about the 90s, there's a lot of talk on podcasts about the Solomon Brothers, so it was a big deal. And he made a prediction back in November, saying that Bitcoin would close at 84,000 exactly, and then run the table. He would run the table, and the top price would be 440,000. And he made that call in early November, and he doubled down later, a few weeks later, when he was betting against Hodl Magoo, who was calling him, a scammer. And then he tweeted earlier this week that he's like, it's going to happen. And he explained that the reason he knew this is because he bet based on this prediction, this rule set that was in a book that burned down in Building 7 of the World Trade Center on 9/11. And the proof was lost forever. That it was predicted 30 years ago. And it closed exactly at $84,000 on Friday, as he predicted. And now people are, talking about running the table. But Giovanni's power law has been shattered. Like the stock to flow plan B model is shattered. Like what Josh Mandel did was make the most accurate Bitcoin price prediction pre-bull market in history.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I've been critical of Bitcoin power law in general. It's just relatively stupid.
I've already been burned by stock to flow. I've been burned by Willy Woo. I've been, burned by all this stuff before. And in power law, that's broken. But people say that this is the Omega candle right here.
Yeah, it's that's something that's really important for Bitcoin cycles is lots of price models and price predictions, and they all kind of come and go like shitcoins. It's if you were going to compare power law to a shitcoin, which one do you think you would compare it to?
I would have to go with either XRP or Cardano, because it's got really hardcore followers and they're not going away. And this is going to be really annoying. There's going to be like the stain on the bottom of our shoe. And Giovanni's really whiny and complaining like Charles Hoskinson. So it kind of depends on how he plays it out, but he's not handling it well. Giovanni, I tweeted on Friday night about an hour before we was almost 84,000. I said, I knew that Giovanni Power Law and Plan B were nervous right now because their relevancy in the mainstream is gone. Their YouTube channels gone. Their affiliate links gone. Their podcast invitations gone. And then it hit, and Giovanni, he immediately he had a tweet thread prepared for that moment to try to discredit it. Like he had his whole PR team helping him write it. And Josh Mandel just replied, "At ease, Giovanni, you are dismissed." And he just ratioed, and Giovanni's just blown his fuse. He's livid.
Totally. Well, I think it's a good time to get into the Found Boost and wrap up this show. I'll start with the first one. Or actually, before we get into the Found Boost, so one of the things that we're going to be launching on Orange Labels, we're going to have a Maxi Madness t-shirt for you to purchase if you would like to commemorate this momentous and historic event. This event's going to be huge. It's going to be taught in the history books. Children that are being homeschooled in their citadels in the future being taught on a Bitcoin standard, listen to Bitcoin podcasts. They're going to be taught about the 2025 Maxi Madness. And this is your opportunity to get out there to buy a Maxi Madness t-shirt. And they're not going to be around forever. This is going to be a limited release. We're gonna rug pull the shirts off the site relatively quickly after this event. I would say they're probably only going to be available to the end of March. So this is your opportunity to get it, to be able to show up at meetups going forward in the decades prior or decades onward from today, and to show that you took a part of this huge historic event. But getting into the Founding Boost, first boost, 10,000 sats from Late Stage Hodl says, so unfortunate that the poor future of UX caused us to miss the end of the epic episode. I hope to learn more about pegging soon. Lately, I've been practicing docking. I've been docked into my 40 HPW docking in with my podcasters who have orange pills to give out and ready if I ever meet Sailor in person. I'm ready to dock in with him. Very cool.
Hell yeah. When we come, we're going to be in Vegas for the Bitcoin conference this year. And we're going to be hanging out with people who listen to 40 hours per week. And that's what we're going to call kind of like our meetup. It's going to be where Bitcoiners who listen to 40 hours per week can dock. We're going to dock together in Vegas. So if you want to dock with us in Vegas, look for us on the intellectual Silk Road.
Based on this boost, I think what we should do, we need to get some Bugle branded condoms to bring with us to ensure that people are orange pilling safely, practicing safe orange pill practices.
Yeah, I mean, if you meet a really beautiful woman in Vegas, especially at the casinos, and you offer to give her her first lightning sats, and she wants to go back to the hotel with you, and because you're orange pilling her or him, make sure you orange pill safely. Hold on, all right, I got my phone open. The next one's from Open Mike. Open Mike, like I said, he's affiliated with, what does he say, Tunester. But that's the value for value music platform. But he gave us 7,777 sats. He said, Bugle Mile High Club flies again. Zapping the Bugle UX Fund from 30,000 feet. So yeah, Open Mike's listen to us on the plane, going to a Bitcoin podcast interview. And that's, hell yeah, Bugle Mile High Club. Love it.
Very cool. Yeah, Mike is hustling, working hard. I think it's pretty cool. I've listened to Bugle Weekly on airplanes. I think that's a great. I don't know. I mean, there's like some benefits of it, some drawbacks. Like it sucks to be on an airplane reminded over and over again that you can't smoke on airplanes. Like that's one of the things.
Bugle, yeah.
But
the Bugle is best listened to while smoking a cigarette for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is the best while smoking. But at the same time, like I think it's important to be inspired. It's important to be reminded of what was taken from us, but also what we can build. And when you're on the airplane and you can't smoke, you should feel angry about it. You know what I mean? You should feel frustrated. That's a good, healthy response to being cucked by the FAA, these government agencies that just want to rob the joy out of your life. But yeah, Tunester's a pretty cool platform. They do live streams. It's kind of like Zap.stream, but geared for musicians. If you're a musician out there, I think you should check out Tunester. Stream your. I think what would be cool is just like for people to go on there and jam and have people zap them. Maybe play one of the songs that either I or Rod wrote. That'd be super cool to see that on Tunester.
That's what you should do. If you ever want to try out Tunester, just steal one of our songs, and whoever zaps you for playing our songs, you can keep it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. And I'll if you shoot me a message, I'll even promote it. I'll even zap you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Up to a limit. If you get a whole Bitcoin, we got to split that 50-50.
Oh, I hope you get a whole Bitcoin doing it. Pink Money 300 sats says the revolution will be as complicated as using Linux. Exactly. I don't know. I think I should probably do some tutorials on how to secure your Bitcoin on a typewriter, an air gap typewriter. That makes Linux look like a walk in the park. But if you really want to take your security to the next level, use a typewriter, in my opinion.
Did you skip the OD 40 hours per week boost?
The
way
I'm seeing it on
okay.
Mine.
I got it.
Next. Yeah.
This is a long one for 365 sats. I dreamed a dream of a revolution where justice was finally found, but the buttons were broken, the app kept crashing, and no one could make a sound. The code was buggy, the screens were cluttered, and the users all cried in despair. But then I remembered there's hope in the ledger. Bitcoin is the answer we share. The revolution will not have good UX, no easy flow, no seamless text. The buttons won't work, the loading's slow, but Bitcoin's here to break the vex. The revolution will not have good UX. A dream to dream where the world was changing, where every voice had its say, but the login failed and the menus froze, and we couldn't find our way. The icons were ugly, the fonts were confusing, and no one knew how to make it right. Then came a currency, decentralized. Bitcoin will guide us through the night. The revolution will not have good UX. No intuitive, simple specs. The icons are strange, the links are dead, but Bitcoin's our future. With no middleman's debt. The revolution will not have good UX. That was incredible. Was that the lyrics to the song you wrote about bad UX? Or was that Odie's own lyrics?
That was Odie's own poem or lyrics, potentially. Yeah, I thought that was...
Unfortunately, I'm bad at reading poetry, so I probably screwed up the prose, or I screwed up the melody. But there was a badass cypherpunk poem.
I think we need more badass cypherpunk poems, for sure, to say the least.
Yeah, cypherpunk poetry.
Yeah, really. Yeah, people just need to accept the revolution won't have good UX. It's part of the process. If there's good UX, it wouldn't be revolutionary.
Right. That is probably struggling through and suffering through the poor UX of Bitcoin is what inspires good poetry.
What I think was impressive too is I imagined that Odie wrote that on a cell phone, and it's much harder than using a keyboard to type it all out. So it probably took like 3 or 4 times longer to do it with your thumbs instead of all 10 of your fingers.
No. I've written stuff like that, on my phone when I was driving through traffic, drunk. It's not easy. So if Odie was driving drunk, at rush hour, type in that cypherpunk poem on his phone while he was listening to our Bitcoin podcast. That's fucking Orange Beret level right there.
100%. Well, we got a few more. We've got BTC on board, 200 sats. Lightning, thumbs up. Anonymous looks like a double boost from Pink Monkey. Says again, the revolution will be as complicated as using Linux. BTC.
And last but not least, I was just going to go, BTC on board hits us with all the lightning emojis. And then Pies is the man. He said he was going to dial down on the amount of Bitcoin podcasts he was listening to because he didn't want to have the headphones on his ears all the time. He was worried about his ears' health. But listening to us read his boosts and retell his story about being orange-pilled in prison warmed his heart so much that he's back and he's listening to his 40 hours per week. So awesome to see you back, Pies. Before we get last words, I'm wondering, it's cool. We're seeing a lot of new boosters, not the same old boosters. So it's cool to see some, the intellectual Silk Road seems to be growing.
Yes, it is.
And it's really cool to see. It's really cool to be a part of that. So, if you're new, keep engaging, buy a t-shirt. Maybe we'll see you at a conference. Maybe we'll say hi. We'll find out. But, it's cool. It's cool to see the community growing.
Mm-hmm. One thing I do want to mention, I was talking with Sly Goomba yesterday. Sly's working on a new podcast series, which I'm kind of excited about, which is interviewing Bitcoin authors. So we'll have to make sure when Fundamentals gets his book done that we get him on there right away. But yeah, shout out to Goomba.
So many new Bitcoin podcasts. It's awesome. It's amazing. With the intellectual Silk Road, we got like 4 new Bitcoin podcasts in the past. They're in 25 already. And it's still the first quarter. So great to see.
And we need more. So if you're considering launching a Bitcoin podcast, I would say do it. Go for it. It's important. It's important if you want the price of Bitcoin to go up and you want to do it in a way that isn't necessarily relying on PodConf, just pumping compliance, start a podcast. That's the best way to make the price go up, in my opinion. It's actually this is a theory backed by mathematics, because if you launch a podcast, you will at least have 1 to 2 listeners who will then be learning about Bitcoin. This is bringing more people to the ecosystem. That means more people buying Bitcoin. That means more people transacting with it. It's your duty. It's your duty as an individual. If you want this revolution to really take off, wade through the bad UX UX.
If you want to run the table, start a Bitcoin podcast. Starting a Bitcoin podcast is how you start to run the table in your own personal life, in your own Bitcoin journey. So hyper Bitcoin podcastization. That's what we're trying to start here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's going to be a big week. I'm looking forward to Maxi Madness. I think that it starts on Thursday, right?
Thursday, March 20th, sometime around 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern time on Thursday.
I think this is going to be huge. It's going to be...
Look for our pinned tweet and look on Nostr, and you'll have to scroll because you can't pin anything because Nostr, of course, has bad UX. And go to our Telegram channel and look at the pinned post there, and that will be the link to the Predictum bracket. You can fill out your bracket and get, be eligible to win a BitAxe and some cypherpunk gift baskets from the Ungovernable Misfits.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you next week on the Bugle Weekly.
In the morning, I get out of bed, try not to be crippled by a feeling of dread. I sip my coffee and put on my pants. Gotta grind for the damn tax man. Had not been out of jail but for 3 days. Bailed out after I punched a cop in a drunken haze. He punched right back and I got a black eye. My wife told me if I don't change, I'll probably die. Soon the bull market will come. We'll drink and be merry, actually have fun. Then when fiat money is finally dead, we'll settle our citadels, the podcaster said. I go into work and everyone stares. They think I'm a loser or who doesn't care. I sit down at my desk, headphones on ears, block out the shit from my NPC peers. The boss comes over and waves her hand to say at the least she's not a big fan. She doesn't appreciate all my memes and seems to want to crush all my ambitious dreams. Soon the bull market will come. We'll drink and be merry, actually have fun. Then when fiat money is finally dead, we'll settle our citadels, the podcaster said. She tells me to pack all my shit. She yells at me, I can feel her spit. Turns out the cop was her dad. Honestly, I'm kinda glad. I pack up all my shit and give her a wink. She screams that I need to see a shrink. I chuckle as I walk out the door. She doesn't own Bitcoin and we'll have fun staying poor. Soon the bull market will come. We'll drink and be merry, actually have fun. Then when fiat money is finally dead, we'll settle our citadels, the podcaster said. Put on the Bugle Weekly as I get in the car. Turn on the engine and light a cigar. Well, this has been a few shitty days. At least I can go on Twitter and call Sailor Gay.